Ric-Hard, don't you ever feel like we're stuck in the 80s again? With like everything being repeated? Fashion, music, wrestling styles?
I don't know, man. I feel like you've watched too many reruns of the Firefly Funhouse, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to TFS POD, otherwise known as the Few Show Podcast. This is 24/7 Lou, and that's...
It's Ric-Hard.
And we continue on with our question, and by the way, we continue the question, and still with our guest, the one-man band.
All right.
Yeah, here we are. So we're going to continue the question with, who is the blank of this era? So we already went through Hogan and Macho Man. In this one, we're going to talk about Roddy Piper, the Fabulous Moolah, and the Hart Foundation. So let's kick it off already with this one. But before let me just say one thing before I start that. You're listening to the A show of the Few Show podcast channel, the Few Shows show here on YouTube. This is the A show, not like the other guys that go on every month, every 2 years. I don't know what they do, but yeah, this is the A show. So let's kick it in. Here we go. So
damn right, it's the A show, and despite that stumbling of that pitch, we do the quality content on this channel. So let's get it started.
That needs to be on a T-shirt. Who is the Roddy Piper of this era? Let's start off with Ric-Hard in this one.
All right. So I know this might get some flack, but hear me out. I'm gonna say it's the Miz. Yeah. From the fact that he's got the talk show, the loudmouth, and the relegation to making the mid card look amazing.
Yes.
I'm gonna say it's the Miz. That's pretty much my pitch for it. But that's what I'm sticking with.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right, one-man band. Who do you have?
That would have been my number one because, yeah, I agree with Ric-Hard on there. But I'm going to try to throw a little more, and I'm going to say Chris Jericho.
Ooh, good one.
And I thought about that for a second because Chris Jericho, yeah, loudmouth too. You know, if you think about it, he had many runs where at the beginning he was just a loud, crazy guy, and then over time when he came back with his Save Us Y2J gimmick, he was a face, but then he came back with a tuxedo and he was the really soft-spoken guy, Intercontinental Champion 9 times. I know Piper won it once, but Piper did make the belt pretty relevant in the early 90s, and Jericho, I would say, arguably, put it on the map as well because he's the most decorated Intercontinental Champion of all of them, and he had a show too. He had the show with the Jeritron 5000, and and Piper's Pit. Obviously he had his little backdrop and Chris Jericho's highlight reel. There you go. That's what I was.
Highlight reel. There you go.
I was trying to figure out what it was. But I mean, thinking about it, it's one of those guys that Chris Jericho he wasn't afraid to put people over either. So he was one of those that he won when he needed to, but he lost also when he needed to as well. So he told a great story, and he still does to this day. I mean, look at him now. He's
Le Champion.
Le Champion. He's the lexicon of Le Champion, and he's
the list of Jericho. Also.
Yeah. Now while he's not nearly the guy that he used to be, he's still going. Piper was still going for a little bit too, well into his 40s. So obviously as a part-timer and as a manager figure, but he was still going well into his late 40s, and I think he even had a brief run with Ric Flair as the tag team champs.
Yes, so, 2008, I remember it.
That's what it was. And yeah, I mean, I think that was off the fly, but I think Chris Jericho is a good fit.
Yeah, I like it. I like that. That's a good one. Now,
the only counter argument I have is Jericho spent a lot of time at the top.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the only thing I got on that.
Yeah, I mean, to go back to that one real quick, Piper if you think about it, Piper did kind of propel Hogan as well. So he did also stay in the upper mid card for a little while, and even going into the early '90s with Bret Hart, you know, he helped usher Bret Hart to get his first singles title. So, you know, yeah, he spent a little bit of time up there too. Yeah.
Okay, all right. I think that helps. I think that helps with Miz specifically because Miz used to, at least when he started, he actually feuded with Hogan.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, at WrestleMania, I want to say 34, he was in the Intercontinental. It was his last reign as Intercontinental Champion, and he gave it up to Seth Rollins, who is kind of like, to some degree, I would say, an in-ring technician like Bret Hart would have been.
Yeah.
And
I
it became,
I agree with that.
Okay. And now let's go on to the next person we have on the list here. We have the fabulous MOOLAH, Ric-Hard.
Well, I went first last time.
Oh.
Plus, mine's a surprise.
Right then. All right then. One-man band. It's on you then. We'll start off with
all right. Okay. For me, fabulous MOOLAH, I would say the modern-day MOOLAH, obviously not as bad, but I would say Charlotte. And reason being is because I'm equating it to as much time as MOOLAH held the women's championship for like 20-some years, I think it was. I think 28 years, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. But obviously, you know, Charlotte is not nearly as long, but she's held the most titles out of everybody. If I'm not mistaken, I think she has been a 5-time Raw Women's Champion. I believe a 4-time SmackDown Women's Champion. And I know she's the current NXT Women's Champion now. So, you know, she's held the most titles out of everybody. So she's the queen of the mountain in the women's division. And, you know, Fabulous MOOLAH, by default of holding the title for so long, even though it was technically inactive, she was the queen of the mountain of her era. And, you know, I know she had a tight grip of the women's division, or what lack there was of that time. I know the women's division is a lot better now. But Charlotte, you know, she has the game on lock, in my opinion, there.
Okay, I like that. Okay, Charlotte. Okay, and who do you have, Ric-Hard?
All right. So I'm playing loosely by the rules here, but this person did come back recently on television, just briefly, albeit at a pay-per-view. And this is going to be a stretch, controversial pick here. But I'm going to say Michelle McCool.
What? No, what? No way. How?
Really?
Convince me.
Michelle McCool. Okay. So, Michelle McCool, as you might remember, during the latter end of her career, had that championship with the co-championship with Layla, I think it was. But before that, she was also champion. She was annoying.
Yeah.
And even though that title reign did not last nearly as long as 28 years, it certainly felt that way.
Felt that way.
You're right.
It felt that way. And every time Michelle McCool comes back, most specifically when you look at her recent returns in the Rumble, she looks dominant and does a pretty superb job in the ring. I think Michelle McCool can hold it. Can be considered to some degree and this is, I don't want to say this, but at the same time, it can be argued that she ushered in the return to a focus towards more wrestling, even though it still had the catty nature to it.
Oh my God!
In the late 2000s to 2007 to 2010s.
Yeah.
In the same way that MOOLAH, even though she's legendary, a lot more can be said about her successors in terms of helping facilitate women's wrestling to the spotlight, I would say.
I don't know, man.
I know that's a stretch. I expect to get heat in the comments, but whatever.
Yeah, man. You are stretching a lot. But it will give us a lot of comments. So we'll go with that.
Heel for life, folks.
There you go. I was waiting for it. So now I'm gonna ask you, Ric-Hard, then. Yeah, I'm going to ask you, Ric-Hard, in this one. Who is the Hart Foundation of this era?
All right, so this one's easy, only because the Hart Foundation is known for being anti-American and pro-Canadian, so AKA they're a foreign faction. Let's just say it, Imperium. Led by an in-ring technician. They're known for being anti-American.
Wait.
Basically.
Wait. The Imperium. But Imperium as a group, that's a group. The Hart Foundation.
Yeah, it is a group. The Hart Foundation was a faction. Oh, they also were a tag team.
Yeah, they started as a tag team.
They're a tag team. That's where I'm going with. Yeah, so I'm looking for a tag
I'm gonna stick with it either way.
comparison.
I'm gonna stick with it either way. Imperium. And if you take just Jim the Anvil, Neidhart, and Bret Hart, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Walter.
But Walter's not a part of the tag team part of that.
And I'm just taking two people out of the faction, obviously.
But they have two guys for the tag team. I don't know, I forget their names, but they do have two guys for the tag team.
Oh, wow, Lou. Way to do your research.
I was expecting someone to mention Imperium in this episode.
Yeah, really.
Walter, who's the big guy, so he's the Neidhart. And then I guess we'll give it to Eichner as the technician.
Man, a little bit. Hold on a second. I'm just stretching a muscle over here. Yeah. Oh, okay. Good. Thanks, man. Getting my stretch going on.
Hey, I gave it a shot. They're foreigners. When I think dastardly foreigners, when I look at Canada, I just see another version of Germany. That's all I'm saying.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
America for life.
Yeah, for life. All right, so moving on. The one-man band. Who's your pick for? Who is the Hart Foundation of this era?
Man, that Imperium one was a tough one.
It's gonna be hard to follow up, right?
Yeah, man. I don't know. But I'm gonna give it a shot. I know that there's not as many tag teams, like at least focused tag teams, as there were back then, rather. But if we're gonna go by a Hart Foundation as a faction, or as a group, I'm gonna go into the Undisputed Era. And for the Undisputed Era, I know it started out as 3 guys, but it's now 4. With Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole, and Roderick Strong. And I would say, Adam Cole obviously would be the Bret Hart of the group, being the tip of the spear. I would say, Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish are essentially like Jim. Well, no, I would say probably like the Owen Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart of the group, and maybe Roderick Strong would probably be like the Brian Pillman. But death notwithstanding, and it's sad to say that because everybody from that group is dead, minus Bret Hart. God rest his soul.
Yeah.
But just say because the Hart Foundation was majority a heel faction during their time. I know they had like a slight face run in the late '80s, early '90s, but judging by that. They did hold all the gold at one point, just like the Undisputed Era did in NXT. If I remember correctly, I think Bret Hart held the World Championship in the Hart faction in the '90s. I think Owen Hart held the Intercontinental title. I think it was right before he dropped it to Stone Cold. And I believe the British Bulldog was the European champion. And I dare say that. Did Owen Hart hold the belt, the tag team belts at that time? I don't know. Maybe not, but I'd have to go back into that. But I do know the Hart Foundation held a lot of gold at one point. It was brief, but they held it. But the Undisputed Era held all the belts for quite a while. I know Roderick Strong lost it to Keith Lee, or was it to Keith Lee, or was there a transitional before Keith Lee?
No, it was a Keith Lee. It was a triple threat.
Okay, so that's correct.
That's correct. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Adam Cole has stayed the NXT champion But and you know, if we want to go just as a tag team, DIY. I would say DIY. DIY was a heel. Well, no, they were a face faction, but a face group. But then they split. And then I know now they're pseudo together now. Well, they were. Never mind. Now I know that they're actually.
It keeps going back and forth.
Yeah, it keeps going back and forth. And I believe the Hart Foundation had a little bit of a back and forth, but not nearly as long. But
yeah, no.
That would have been like a wild card of anything. But I'm sticking with the Undisputed Era on that one.
Okay. So I let you finish. Now I just want to say I wanted to make that comparison to the Undisputed Era, but here's the problem. So I looked up Adam Cole. Guess what? American. Bobby Fish, American.
True.
Not foreign enough. That's my counter argument.
Well, let's go like this. I mean, if we want to have a counter argument to that one, technically all of them are descendants of Europeans. So we'll go with that.
Oh my God!
Oh, well, wait a minute.
Hold on a second.
Well, technically they both live on Earth, so they're all humans. Come on, man. What are we doing here?
About any American.
Well, there you go. There you go.
God. They live on Earth. They're humans. They're men. So they're still the same thing.
Hey, there you go.
All right, folks. So here, we've been doing this. Who is the blank of this era? So we've gone through Roddy Piper in this one, Fabulous Moolah and Hart Foundation. Tell us what you think. Write a comment message down below. And those comparisons that Ric-Hard gave us, woo, what a stretch. Hope you're all nice and ready, warmed up, everyone. But we have one last question that...
Before we do that, I just want to give a very interesting factoid about another one-man band. So, fun fact number 500. Did you know that Heath Slater eliminated Sheamus, a previous Royal Rumble winner, from the 2018 Royal Rumble in just 2 seconds, and that this elimination occurred on Sheamus' 40th birthday?